November the 7th, 2025. Guys, yesterday we were watching the live White House event where you had David Ricks, who was Eli Lilly CEO, and you had Gordon Lindley, who was the CEO of Nova Nordisk. You guys popped right in the comments yesterday and told me who Gordon was. I appreciate that very much. Again, Nova Nordisk and Eli Lilly. Now, they're saying, well, I haven't seen any images, that he simply fainted, and maybe I hope that's what happened. And they revived him, and I don't know if he was sent to the hospital from there, just not much information on that. They didn't really want to talk about it. They called, and you can see him laying right here on the floor, and you've got Dr. Oz there, and they administered to him. Again, they're saying he got lightheaded and dizzy and fainted, almost fainted, and he's pretty old. But the conversation goes back to Ozempic, and it's being pushed worse in a way than the roll-up-your-sleever was a few years back that had such dire consequences. And guys, what's worse about it is it's just as deadly, but they're pushing it to everybody. Bobby Kennedy's talking about how many millions of pounds will be lost just next year. They're claiming it's anti-diabetes and it's a weight loss drug and all that. But guys, it's an extremely dangerous poison. Now, I've heard, and yesterday in the comments, for instance, some people were saying, well, I've got family members and it has helped them. Others were talking about drastic effects. And if you look at some of the stars that have tried Ozempic, and we have a friend in our family that's on it, they look like skeletons, and they're not going to live very long the way they look. But what is happening with this drug, Ozempic, they dropped the price down to where everyone can afford it. Everyone can be healthier. Are you listening? You don't have to exercise. You don't have to diet anymore. You can just take this shot, I think. I think it's still a shot, and which sounds really fun, doesn't it? And sometimes it's up to daily. And people are drying up, just like the movie Thinner from Steven Spielberg. People have talked about that certain people in our group, in other words, the conservatives that keep an eye on government things, have said that there had been reports that the last big drug, the wipeout drug, would be a diet pill or a diet medicine. But again, David Ricks, Eli Lilly CEO, was giving remarks when he looked to his right and said, "Are you okay, Gordon? Are you okay?" And they cut the cameras. They came back with part two. Didn't say much about Gordon at all. They really had wished that never happened because it was at a terrible time for the people that are money hungry. And Big Pharma is just like in the Bible, pharmacia, sorcery. And guys, if you haven't watched that live video we put up yesterday, as this was being cut off, you will notice that the two people, Eli Lilly, not Gordon yet, he hadn't spoken, but the Eli Lilly guy and the guy behind him, another drug czar, they were smiling. They were so happy price was going to come down. Millions could afford it right now, and everybody would have, and it's a lifesaver drug. That's kind of what we were told about the last situation that we went through. But there's another side to this whole story, and I think it's got the hand of the devil in it, and I want to talk about that. And you've got this thing really hyped by the people that can afford it or could afford it, and now it's going to go down. But Sharon Osbourne is a perfect example. People have asked her to please stop doing the plastic surgery. But guys, she is shrinking up. Probably some surgery involved there too, but it's all about weight loss, the easy way out. Now, when we talk about the hand of Satan, I think yesterday we may have seen the hand of God, because this drug is so evil, and these people were smiling so much as they were getting ready to pass it in a new lower price and just make millions and build a new plant to make it here in the United States. Oh, that was wonderful. Soon as that happened and they started grinning and looking around and talking about it, Gordon hit the floor. Right in the middle of the worst time it could happen as far as pushing a product. The most embarrassing time. And of course he was elder, and he was an elder, and he shouldn't have been standing there that long. But I think the hand of God showed the entire world, because the entire world watches what goes on with Trump. And it's all over in the news. It's on the White House YouTube channel, everywhere. It's easy to see that, and millions have seen it by now. But it says hundreds of thousands of people worldwide are taking drugs like Ozempic to lose weight. But what do we actually know about them? This month, the Conservatives expert explores the rise, impact, and potential consequences. A very good article. This is from medicine.uq.education in Australia. Every now and then, scientists develop treatments that end up being even more popular for another condition entirely. Think of Viagra, originally for high blood pressure, now used as erectile dysfunction, or thalidomide, a dangerous morning sickness treatment that is now a valuable cancer treatment. The blockbuster drug Ozempic was originally developed to treat type 2 diabetes, a condition that results in too much glucose or sugar in the blood. This is because the body can't effectively use the insulin it produces. Guys, that is from way, way too much sugar. We didn't have diabetes in this nation going back not long ago. It's when everything got very, very concentrated, sugared up, and processed, and you can see it at Walmart. And that's what people are fussing about. They're missing. And it becomes a mental thing, the snack thing. Anyway, healthy diet and exercise, that's too hard nowadays. It says the blockbuster drug Ozempic was originally developed to treat type 2 diabetes, a condition that results in too much glucose or sugar in the blood. This is because the body can't effectively use the insulin it produces in diet. In the 1980s, medications to treat type 2 diabetes would often lead to weight gain, which could worsen the condition. Patients would end up needing insulin replacement therapy. And so, guys, you're dealing with a bunch of Frankenstein doctors on all levels, from eye doctors all the way up. They've gotten so specialized in their particular field that I joke with them. I'd tell them the joke about I had to go to the doctor, and he looked at my kidneys, and he said, your left kidney, you got some problems with. I said, what about my right one? He said, no, I'll make you an appointment for the doctor down the street for your right kidneys. We don't look at that anymore. And guys, that's not very far from the truth. But and not only that, they've turned inside their little world. And they've been so jaded because of what they've been through all their life trying to help people. Now it's kind of just get them out of here and give them anything. Maybe we won't see them until they die. And then, of course, we won't have to see them at all. And that's after they drain your allotment of insurance, health insurance. It says in the 1980s, medications to treat type 2 diabetes would often lead to weight gain, again, which could worsen the conditions. But the class of drugs Ozempic belongs to would change this and generate a $21 billion worth of sales, and this came out in 2023, alone then for its makers. Now they're going to be building a new plant. Now it's much cheaper for everywhere. What's coming out of Europe? Now they're building billions, I think 8 billion or something like that, maybe more than that. Trump mentioned yesterday. Maybe some of you guys remember that. And he's looking at bringing money into the nation. I understand that because the Democrats broke the nation. Now, that's got to be built back up. But he does amaze me with his lack of knowledge of medicine and pharma. That is kind of amazing, but I still will vote for him again as long as he's fighting for this nation. But when, again, we saw the last pandemic, and now with this going on, it's been going on for a year or two. People are dying left and right. But with this going on, guys, it goes back to ancient times. when they would poison the entire population. The leaders, which they call gods, the lesser gods, and some people say terrestrials or whatever, they would say that the noise has grown too loud and we've got to thin the herd. Probably had a lot to do with Enlil and Enki. One side wanted to destroy the people, the other side didn't. Is that what we're seeing now? The same battle between destruction and saving humanity? Right now, destruction is winning. And before I forget, I do have friends in the National Guard that, you have to take all your shots and all of that came down with diabetes, very healthy fellows, and were actually told by the VA that that's what caused it. So healthy living and exercise is the key. But how did we go from insulin, which could make you too fat, put on too much weight, to Ozempic, guys? Listen to this. In the 1980s, John Pisano, a biochemist with a penchant for venoms, and a young gastroenterologist, Jean-Pierre Rothman, were working with poisonous lizard venom from the Gila monster, a slow-moving reptile native to the south of the United States and north of Mexico. By the 1990s, Pisano, Rothman, and colleague John Ng identified a hormone-like molecule they called Exidin-4. This stimulated insulin secretion via action at the same receptor as the GLP-1, and that GLP-1 goes back to the earlier medicines. Excitingly, Exidin-4 was not quickly metabolized by the body, and so might be useful as a diabetic therapeutic. Take a shot, lose a weight. You don't have to eat good, you don't have to work. Ng was convinced this would work, but pharmaceutical companies didn't want to give people a hormone mimic from a venomous lizard. Even the medical center where Ng was working wouldn't help fill the patent. And so there was a battle against it. But guys, do you remember in the beginning of the last pandemic, they were talking about Venom? Anybody remember that? I sure do. Coming out of Johns Hopkins and other places like that, and people online, but it had to do with the venom. And there's still people dropping left and right. Anyway, the danger in this is unbelievable. And this is a picture of a Gila monster, guys. This serpent, it's California, Arizona, northern Mexico, all through that area. And it's not a real fast like a monitor lizard, but it is deadly. Eventually, Ng and Rothman convinced a small startup company, Amylin Pharmaceuticals. Amylin quickly showed synthetic Exidin-4 rapidly normalized blood glucose in type 2 diabetic mice. Exidin-4 then proved safe and efficient in humans, leading to the 2005 U.S. Food and Drug Administration approval of exenatide under the name Byetta. Now, who's in charge of the FDA now, and who was standing there with Trump and these other demons? It soon became evident that many taking Byetta were experiencing sustained weight loss around 5%, but with some experiencing much more, with the benefit of reversing their diabetic symptoms, but at what cost? News of this weight loss effect spread, and within 6 months, Byetta was being used off-label for weight loss, foreshadowing the widespread use of Ozempic, the people that had the money. I think they were talking about in the White House yesterday, it was going from $120 a dose to $20 a dose here in the U.S. Now, here comes Gordon, the guy that fell out. It said, meanwhile, Danish pharmaceutical company Novo Nordisk had been developing a long-acting GLP-1 mimicking drug, as it had done for insulin in the past. Its research showed high levels of GLP-1 could correct diabetes in mice, and they would lose weight. If you poison any animal, humans all the way down the line, guys, they will lose weight. But it will be catastrophic, and it will be the killing off of the population. They call it thinning the herd. It said during the 1990s, there was controversy over how GLP-1 led to weight loss. However, it later became clear that GLP-1 receptors in the brain that suppressed the desire to eat, just like the poison in that lizard. And you dry up. Watch the movie Thinner. You'll see what's going to happen, and it's already happening. Like I said, there's someone in our family that was not really overweight that much. They just want to think they're going to end up looking like a model. And now they look horrific. I won't name any names. It says this new drug, liraglutide, approved as Victoza in 2010 in the U.S., was better for weight loss than Byetta, typically 10% weight loss, but still needed daily injections. So you're switching insulin for something else you've got to inject. As far as I know, it looks like Ozempic 0.25 milligrams here. But just remember, it's telling your brain that you're full as your body's depleting down to nothing, even muscle loss. It says daily injections aren't popular, and Novo Nordisk's team had been working on an even longer-acting drug, Gordon and Company. Semaglutide approved as Ozempic in 2017. As a once-weekly injection, it had improved brain GLP receptor targeting, further enhancing weight loss. In other words, attacking your brain harder, telling you you're full while it's killing you. Due to it, guys, when man interferes with God's natural creations, nothing works right. Due to its safety profile and weight loss efficiency of around 15, or efficacy around 15%, a higher dose of semaglutide gained FDA approval as Wegovy in 2021 as a standalone obesity treatment. Take some lizard poison and you won't feel like eating. And it works the same way in people that Gila monster venom would do. It says your gastrointestinal tract contains a specialized cell that measures the quantity and quality of incoming food as well as the absence of food, and communicates this with the rest of your body, including your brain. You may remember Pavlov's dogs, which was a condition to expect a meal at the sound of a bell, kind of like what happens when you're presented with a delicious plate of food. Not only does the brain make you salivate, it also starts the process of releasing digestive juices and even causes insulin levels to rise. And that's very true, guys. Everyone's experienced that. You smell something good or see something good, you're hungry, your juices start kicking in. Ozempic and other GLP-1 mimicking drugs slow gastric emptying, which increases your sense of fullness. So you've got the food that's digested sitting there longer inside you. And guys, for the people that eat steak, anything over 4 ounces, and I've known this since 1980, anything over 4 ounces in a 24-hour period cannot be digested. You don't have enough gastric juices in your body to go past that. So, and by 24 hours at your body's temperature of 98.6 degrees and up, it becomes putrid. It's worse than leaving it on the counter in an air-conditioned house all day. Then when it turns putrid, that turns into fat because your body tries not to digest it. And then when you do get hungry and you've got that putrid steak, that rotted meat in you, you start getting this headache. So, oh, I need to eat. I'm getting kind of shaky and all. That's because your body was hungry and it had to turn to that putrid fat that was stored because it could not be digested. People, I mean, the doctors won't tell you that, but I've read the books on it and had specialists tell me about it, and it goes along with a lot of other things. But guys, it just, there's no way that you can come in and change the way the brain works and the rest of the body works without starving it down. Think about this again. The earth is thickly populated, especially in the cities. People are hungry. If you don't have SNAP and all that, people have not advanced. We went the opposite way of advancing, because anytime you start gathering into big cities and things like that, gardening is forgotten. So then you're turned into people of the state that has to go to the grocery store all the time. I remember when I was a kid, and everybody says this, I know that, but we grew much of our food, and we still do. And back then they really did, guys. You put up everything. You didn't, if the grocery store closed down, it wouldn't really matter. You had enough canned and frozen and everything else, dried food put up, you were going to make it. Insulin secretion increases because there are nerves with the GLP-1 receptors close to the wall of your gastrointestinal tract. This sends messages to the unconscious part of your brain that interpret these and send messages back via nerves to your gastrointestinal tract and pancreas to secrete insulin. Now, I'm going to link to the article, but you can go there and read the rest of it. Look in the comments and in the description. But they're talking about people like Eli Lilly, and they were there present yesterday in the White House. They're working on something even past the GLP-1 called GIP. And what it breaks down to is, guys, they give you stuff that just about kills you, then they invent something else that maybe bring you back. In other words, they're cleaning up their mess and making trillions of dollars. But we were warned about pharmacia and sorcery. And the people looked evil that were standing behind Trump yesterday. The Eli Lilly guy and the other guy beside him. Now, all of them were guilty. Kennedy, has he been paid off by Big Pharma, Jr.? Because he talked about how good this was, and that, what was it, 125 million pounds could be lost in 1 year, starving people to death. They were gleeful over it. It's moments like that when you realize that certain groups may have your country interest or the interest of your country in their minds, but not the interest of the population. And when you get to certain points, just like with the flood of Noah, the population is almost wiped out because it had become so crazy and out of control and interfered with. Is that what we're seeing now? The attempt to silence the noise of the crowds? We're watching it, guys. You watch it. The link below. It's a heads up. Be safe.